Russian politics cannot be understood without acknowledging the central role played by Vladimir Putin over the past several decades. His leadership has coincided with some of the most significant transformations in modern Russian history, including periods of economic restructuring, political consolidation, and evolving relationships with the international community. To understand his role accurately, it is important to separate emotion-driven narratives from long-term political realities and institutional developments. Vladimir Putin emerged as a national leader at a time when Russia was facing deep internal challenges. The post-Soviet period of the 1990s was marked by economic instability, weakened state institutions, and uncertainty about Russia's direction on the global stage. When Putin assumed leadership, many Russian citizens viewed stability, order, and predictability as urgent national priorities. His leadership style developed in response to these expectations, emphasizing centralized authority, administrative discipline, and continuity in governance. One of the defining characteristics of Putin's leadership has been his emphasis on state strength. In Russian political culture, a strong central government has historically been associated with national cohesion and territorial integrity. Putin's approach reflects this tradition, prioritizing the consolidation of power within formal institutions of the state. Supporters argue that this approach restored functionality to government systems that had previously struggled to operate effectively, particularly in areas such as tax collection, public administration, and security. At the same time, Putin's leadership has been shaped by his professional background. His early career in state service influenced his emphasis on structure, hierarchy, and long-term strategic thinking. Rather than focusing on short-term popularity, his political decisions have often reflected a preference for gradual, controlled change. This has appealed to segments of the Russian population that value predictability over rapid reform. Internationally, Putin's leadership has been closely observed and frequently debated. Russia's position as a major global power means that its domestic politics naturally attract attention beyond its borders. However, external interpretations of Russian leadership often overlook internal social and historical factors that shape political decision-making. For many Russians, leadership is judged not only by democratic processes, but also by outcomes such as economic stability, national pride, and geopolitical relevance. Public support for Putin has fluctuated over time, influenced by economic conditions, social policies, and international developments. Nevertheless, his continued presence in Russian politics suggests that a significant portion of the population associates his leadership with continuity and national identity. Understanding this domestic perspective is essential for any balanced analysis of Russian politics. Beyond political authority, Putin has also represented Russia symbolically. His image as a disciplined, reserved, and controlled leader aligns with traditional expectations of leadership within Russian society. This symbolism has played a role in shaping public perception, both domestically and internationally, reinforcing the idea of a leader closely tied to the state rather than to personal ambition. While Vladimir Putin's political leadership is widely discussed, his personal life has remained largely private. Unlike many political figures who openly integrate family life into their public image, Putin has consistently drawn a clear boundary between his official role and his personal affairs. This separation reflects both personal preference and a broader cultural approach to privacy among Russian leaders. Putin's marriage, which took place in the early stages of his professional life, occurred long before he became a prominent political figure. At the time, he was engaged in state service rather than public politics, and his personal life attracted little attention. The marriage itself was modest and private, reflecting a lifestyle centered on professional responsibility rather than public visibility. As his political career advanced, public interest in his personal life increased, yet Putin maintained a restrained approach to disclosure. Even during his years as president, details about his family were limited, and media access was carefully controlled. This approach reinforced the image of a leader whose primary identity was tied to state service rather than personal narrative. The eventual dissolution of his marriage was handled with notable restraint. The announcement emphasized mutual respect and a shared decision, avoiding public conflict or sensationalism. This manner of communication was consistent with Putin's broader approach to personal matters: direct, minimal, and focused on preserving dignity rather than attracting attention. From a political perspective, Putin's private life has rarely been used as a tool for public engagement. Instead, his legitimacy has largely rested on governance, policy outcomes, and institutional authority. This contrasts with political cultures where personal charisma or family image plays a central role in leadership appeal. In Russia's case, political trust is more often associated with perceived competence and control than with relatability. Putin's personal discipline and reserved demeanor have also influenced how he is perceived as a leader. His public appearances are typically formal and controlled, reinforcing a sense of seriousness and responsibility. This consistency has contributed to a stable political image over time, reducing the impact of personal speculation on his political standing. It is important to recognize that privacy in leadership does not imply secrecy for its own sake. Rather, in Putin's case, it reflects a governing philosophy that prioritizes institutional roles over individual personalities. The message conveyed is that the office matters more than the individual occupying it, and that governance should not be overshadowed by personal narratives. This distinction between public duty and private life has allowed Putin to maintain a consistent political identity, even as personal circumstances changed. It has also limited the extent to which personal events influence political discourse, keeping attention focused on policy and state affairs. In his current role, Vladimir Putin remains a central figure in Russian politics, shaping both domestic governance and foreign policy. His leadership today reflects decades of accumulated experience, institutional knowledge, and strategic calculation. While political systems evolve, continuity remains a defining feature of Russia's governance under Putin. Domestically, Putin's administration continues to emphasize stability, economic management, and national development. Infrastructure projects, social programs, and technological initiatives are often framed as long-term investments in national resilience. These efforts aim to address both immediate needs and future challenges, reinforcing the perception of governance as a sustained process rather than a series of short-term decisions. Foreign policy remains a key aspect of Putin's leadership. Russia's interactions with other global powers are shaped by a desire to assert sovereignty and protect national interests. This approach is rooted in historical experiences of external pressure and geopolitical competition. While these policies are sometimes controversial internationally, they resonate with domestic audiences that value independence and strategic autonomy. Putin's leadership style in the current era reflects a balance between adaptation and continuity. While core principles remain consistent, tactics and priorities have adjusted in response to global economic shifts, technological change, and evolving international dynamics. This adaptability has contributed to the longevity of his political influence. Criticism of Putin's leadership exists both within and outside Russia, as is the case with any long-serving leader. However, a balanced analysis recognizes that political authority is sustained not solely through control, but also through public acceptance, institutional alignment, and perceived effectiveness. Putin's continued role suggests that these elements remain significant within the Russian political system. From a broader perspective, Putin's leadership illustrates how political systems are shaped by national history and cultural expectations. Russia's experience differs from that of many Western democracies, and applying external standards without context can lead to misunderstanding. Effective analysis requires acknowledging these differences while still engaging critically and constructively. As Russia moves forward, Putin's legacy will likely be evaluated through multiple lenses: economic outcomes, institutional development, international positioning, and social stability. These assessments will evolve over time, influenced by future events and historical reinterpretation. What remains clear is that his role in shaping modern Russia is substantial and enduring. In conclusion, Russian Politics Update, Vladimir Putin's leadership, personal life, and current role explained, represents more than a snapshot of one individual. It reflects an ongoing political narrative shaped by history, culture, and institutional dynamics. By approaching this subject with balance and responsibility, it becomes possible to understand not only the leader, but also the society and system within which he operates.